You'd be surprised what comes up in conversation when paleontologists spend long days in the field. Some of it is deep time in ancient ecosystems. Some of it is, well, trying to remember our fourth favorite hat. This is Fourth Favorite Hat, a look into real dig site chatter of the Montana Dinosaur Center. Each episode brings you the work, the stories, the arguments, the questions, and the odd tangents that emerge when you put scientists, shovels, fossils, and too much sun in the same place. And yes, every guest still has to answer the only question that really matters. What's your fourth favorite hat? Let's get started.
Hello, my name is Andy, and my fourth favorite hat is my Badlands of South Dakota dad cap.
I'm Bret, and my fourth favorite hat is my Lake Champlain, Lake Monsters baseball cap.
Hello, I'm Bryce, and my fourth favorite hat is my wide-rimmed Denver Zoo hat.
And on today's episode, we were planning on talking about some of the dinosaur books that we all have read and love, and talk about how they've played a big role in our journey. Now, Bret being easily the biggest reader in our group, why don't you start?
All right, I got a lot of things to start with. Kind of the book that got me interested in paleontology is, I think, a good place to start. When I was a kid, my dad had this natural history book, and he would read it to me like every night we would read about stuff. So he would read different books or different pages every night. We'd read like a different chapter, and we'd always like learn about different geologic eras and everything. It was really cool. His favorite extinct animal is the Eriops because it was featured in that book. My dad's a big Eriops fan.
I'm kind of in a similar boat where I feel like the books I read as a kid have such a more prominent place in my journey as a paleontologist. Does that make sense?
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah,
Because
I also kind of have to agree with that.
there are great books I've read as an adult, The Dinosaur Heresies by Bob Bacher, The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs by Steve Brusatte, but I have next to me a collection of books I've had since I was a kid, and I went back through and like just reread them, and I had a giddy feeling all the same.
Do you
And
have a favorite from that list?
I do. The Field Mouse and the Dinosaur Named Sue. So I grew up in northern Illinois, so the Field Museum has always been important to me. And this book, it was for my third birthday. The note is in the book. That doesn't come standard with it if you buy one. That one was added to mine. It's the story of a little mouse that lives in the Field Museum. So actually, it's the mouse that lived in South Dakota with the bones of Sue the T-Rex, and how it accidentally gets shipped to the Field Museum, and how it explores the Field Museum and all the wonderful things there. And it's just so whimsical, and I love it.
Bryce, how about you? You have a favorite childhood dinosaur book?
Ooh. Honestly, I had quite a bit of like dinosaur ones and just modern day animal ones, especially from the publisher DK. I had so many DK books. Those
Oh,
are
yeah.
probably one of the biggest shapers of, well, besides just, going to like zoos and aquariums and stuff, but it just really got me into animals. I actually have one of the first ones I ever had, I'm pretty sure, sitting right next to me. It's called Big Book of Dinosaurs, a first book for young children. And it kind of just is a fairly basic book, but it goes through, the different categories of dinosaurs, gives you like little facts about them with some very kind of funny shrink wrapped looking guys, which some DK books still actually use some of these graphics. Like when I look through some of the ones we have stocked at our museum, I see someone like, wait a minute, I know that guy.
And what about you, Bret? Besides the book your dad read with you, do you have anything that stands out?
Okay, so favorite book from my childhood for dinosaurs was got to be Saturday Night at the Dinosaur Stomp.
You've
It's
told
kind of
us
like
about that one before.
yeah, so it's basically like they're having like a big party and they're getting the dinosaurs together from like all the different time periods, like the ankylosaurs doing the drums. It's fun.
That does sound good.
They're having a big party. I mean, I learned about all kinds of different dinosaurs from that. They probably have 20 or so different species of dinosaurs that they talk about in it, which is kind of cool.
Another one I have from when I was a baby at Disney World, and I guess my parents could sense what was going to happen. They bought Countdown to Extinction. I believe it came out alongside Disney's Dinosaur. You're following the idea that you built a time machine. Oh no, it's their ride. It's the story of their ride. You're on a time machine, but it's got all these little holographic pages.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's going back through it, and you go through like intervals of like 30 to 20 million years. You start at 150, when time started, then go to 120, 100, then you jump to 75, 70, 70 again, then you get to 67, and then you get to 65, and you'll never guess what happens.
They all live happily ever after.
Exactly.
I think so. Yeah.
So something I was curious about, I have some books, and I was wondering if you guys have ever read these, if you had them growing up too. Have you ever read the Weekly Reader books?
We reader books. Not
Weekly reader.
those don't sound familiar off the top of my head.
They're very small. This one's only 20-ish pages, and it's looking at and then whatever dinosaur it is.
I think I had a similar thing. Like, do you remember like the old zoo books?
Oh, of course.
They did have a couple like prehistoric ones too.
Hmm.
So that's kind of similar-ish, probably.
It is. These are admittedly outdated at this point, but that's not really important. That's how science goes. But right now I've got the one about coelophysis, or as our current vocal stem is coelophysis.
Thank you, Dinosaur Adventure 3D.
Yeah, Rolf the Parasaurolophus calls them coelophysis, and now we can't say it anyway but the way he does.
Yeah, Dinosaur Adventure 3D, classic game. You guys out there should check it out.
Some of these pictures, sure, they haven't aged great, but like, I don't know, this book's great. Planning for this episode, I was expecting to talk about the pros and the cons of fiction and nonfiction. But right now, I'm just kind of giddily going through a very well presented nonfiction book right now.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a place for both fiction and nonfiction in kind of like the whole dinosaur sphere. I definitely have read plenty of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another kind of funny book from my childhood. I don't know if you guys saw it. I don't remember what it was called. But like the front cover of it is like this like cartoonish like tyrannosaur, and there's these big like googly eyes on the front that kind of like bulge out like a
Oh,
like a
yes,
half
yeah.
hemisphere.
No, I know
Yeah.
the one you're talking about. The guy also did that with bugs.
And like as you go through, it's like a little like 10 little whatever the kind of dinosaurs. As you count
Mhm.
down like to one, it's like, oh, there's none left. And it's like the 8 little pachycephalosaurs jumping on a bed. One fell off and bumped his head,
Oh,
and then it
yes,
goes
I've
on to the
read that
next one.
book.
Yeah.
The issue is I remember the bug one a bit more because the
Mhm.
end was a pun. They were trying to figure out who did a crime, and Katie did.
That's a
Just
good pun.
like a Katie did.
That one was always a hit with me when I was real young too.
Trying
Yeah,
to...
no, I know
Oh,
exactly the book you're talking about.
I typed in
Uh,
dinosaur book with googly eyes, and it was 10 Little
10 Little
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's the one.
I remember that one. That one was very, very entertaining as a kid.
9 little dinosaurs riding on bikes. Stegosaurus crashed and smashed his spikes. Dang.
Yeah, it was kind of a violent book to be honest, but the art was fun.
I mean, yeah. Apparently, this author also did one because I see the bug book, and then they did one about fish called Max Minnow. I opened up one I have called The Mammoth Book of Dinosaurs. The old book smell just sent me back to being a kid laying on my belly reading this in my room. It's got painted pictures. It tells stories as it goes through time, but I remember so much. Yeah, here it is. My favorite story was about the Nothosaur. I don't know why. This guy just looks so cool. Nothosaurs, for the listeners who might not know, they're not dinosaurs. They're a reptile that was partially marine, kind of would have been a shoreline liver. They're just weird fellas, but I loved that story so much.
Another book I really liked as a kid. I remember this one from second grade. We had it in our second grade classroom called Dino Wars. Either of you guys familiar with this book?
I'm
I
not.
don't think so.
The whole thing is it has a bunch of dinosaurs throughout different like time periods, and it gives them all how dangerous they are. It gives them a scale like 1 to 10.
Nice.
But that has like fights between them where it has two dinosaurs that lived at the same time in the same place, and it like will say it'll give like a situation, then it'll give who wins.
Oh, so like a Jurassic Fight Club and that sort
Yeah,
of stuff.
kind of like that.
I think
So, like
there's
here,
a modern series of books that does a similar thing with, but like with a lot of different animals. Like they have one that's like mosquito versus blue whale. They have one that's like,
I mean, I'd be shocked if there weren't many books like this.
this one was a lot of fun to read in class.
I'm sad I can't find it. I was hoping somewhere there was the book that taught me the alphabet because I was that kid who could say Allosaurus before I knew what the letter A was. I couldn't
Honestly,
find that one.
I can't find it either. But like there were some kind of influential like dinosaur books when I was in middle school too. Our school library had a book for every letter of the alphabet except for like some of the ones towards the end where they like kind of combined some letters because there's not very much for like W, X, Y, and Z. It was just like dinosaurs A to Z, and each book just listed a bunch of dinosaurs and random facts about them. That
Oh
was fun
yeah,
to check
I've
out.
definitely had those.
That's really
Another
cool,
one I'm
yeah.
kind of going through is The Bone Poems by Jeff Moss. Have you ever read that one?
No, is it like
I
a?
don't,
I assume it's
I
a
don't believe
poetry
so.
book.
Yeah, it's just kid-friendly poems about extinct animals. So not just dinosaurs, but of course dinosaurs are in there. I read this one so much. The Ankylosaurus one, all covered with armor, the Ankylosaurus, moved with a clunk and a Clankiosaurus. That one was hard.
It's a bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah. He stood in a stream as he drank Hylosaurus and looked like an old army tank Hylosaurus. Oh, and there's even a poem about This was before we figured out what Dinokairos actually was, when it was just the big hands. And
Oh, is it
it's
about when they thought it was like a big old turtle?
no, so that was Therizinosaurus with just one of its
Oh, oops.
fingers.
Oh yeah,
With
mixed them up.
Dinokairos, it was named Terrible Hands because they only ever found the arm bones. And because they have such huge claws, they were like, oh, what kind of dangerous predator is this? So the arms of Dinokairos, it's a little girl trying to say what she thinks it is. And it's just this little freak with massive, massive arms, and he's just given a nervous wave. Here's one about an Anatotitan tooth fairy, and she's very much sick of her job because the Anatotitans keep regrowing their teeth.
And see, as someone who wasn't like a big poetry fan in like school, I think that would have been more fun to read than like standard poems.
Here's the ABC poem of mostly dinosaurs, and they've got, admittedly, the two I'm going to read are not dinosaurs. They've got some obscure ones. They've got Xiphactinus, which might not be obscure, but if you're not a paleontologist, how many people know that word?
Yeah, not a lot.
And then for Z,
Yeah,
it's
likely not.
Zalamandelestes, which is a little mammal. All these poems had such a level of care that they didn't have to, you know, but they did. So I'm counting those as kind of the education, though. They all had an element of teaching, even if it was more narrative, like that Nothosaurus thing I told you about, or the poems. They're still teaching. What about some just
Oh yeah.
good old fiction stuff? What do you guys have?
Good old fiction. I mean, I've read a lot of good fiction books about dinosaurs. I mean, easy one to talk about is, Jurassic Park.
What?
Perhaps the most famous dinosaur fiction book.
That one is still good at teaching stuff, though.
That's true. Michael Crichton did a lot of research when he was writing it.
I feel like he did that with a lot of his books.
Yeah, he was a great author.
Yeah, he did that with the like the Andromeda strain and some other books too. Like that was just kind of his like shtick.
Jurassic Park is great because it's a horror book, but it's also a real horror, I feel.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs aren't villains, they aren't monsters. They're just hungry.
I mean, the real villains in the story is Dr. Hammond.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that one I sometimes have to explain guests. It's like, yeah, the movie portrays him as kind of just forgetful and bumbling. No, he's not nice.
Yeah,
No.
a movie him and book him definitely exist in some separate universes, I'd say.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people confuse a lot of stuff that happens in the book with the movie. Like, it's quite different, actually.
It is, but I like both. It's one of those instances of this is just for things in general with adaptations. I'm okay with people telling different stories so long as both stories are good.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, when people were hardcore Witcher book fans or Witcher game fans, I was like, yeah, they're different. It's two different things. A movie and a book
And
are
then
going to
there's
be
a TV
different.
show, which is also kind of a different thing.
Well, that one branches off into the doesn't get as good.
I've heard. I never got around to watching it.
That's not what this episode is about, but I could tell you for hours.
Bringing it back to Jurassic Park, we're talking about how the movie is different. Some of the changes they made in the movie were so popular that even Michael Crichton changed them for the sequel.
You can only stand to better yourself by hearing the ideas of others. You don't always have to listen to them, they might not be great ideas, but taking into account that, there's only so much one person can think of.
Of course, I
True,
mean,
true.
everyone can be better. I just think it's funny how at the very end of the book, Dr. Malcolm dies.
Mhm.
But then he was so popular that at the beginning of the second book they were like, "Oh, my death was greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
I'm back and better, and now I'm the main character because people liked him so much."
The
I
Jeff
gotta-
Goldblum effect.
Yeah, I gotta say, that is the most manga writer type thing that could be the case. So many times a manga writer is like, here's a one-off villain or a background character, and the fans are like, dude, I love this guy, and the manga writer's like, guess he's a main character now.
Pretty classic example of that would be Vegeta from Dragon Ball. He was supposed to just kind of be dead at the end of the first little saga in Dragon Ball Z, but no, the fans liked him too much.
Yeah. So Ian Malcolm is basically the Vegeta of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement. I mean, kinda. They both do the whole like little arc where they learn the value of family and like when they become main characters. So
Bryce, a lot of characters learn the value of family. It's kind of a go-to trope.
well, yeah, but this applies specifically to these two.
Or like in 2012, that disaster movie where this always irked me about disaster movies. Every single one is about a deadbeat dad and also the world is ending. It's like, can the world end and somebody be a good father?
No,
It
another
took-
kind of fun change that people don't really think about for like between the movie continuity and the books. One of the main antagonists of like the Jurassic Park movies, Dinosaur Heresies, was actually the father of the main character. Pretty classic example of that would be Vegeta from Dragon Ball. He was supposed to just kind of be dead at the end of the first little saga in Dragon Ball Z, but no, the fans liked him too much.
Yeah. So
Jurassic World series is a Henry Wu, who like helped actually make the dinosaurs. In the book, though, he dies. At the end of the first book, he's eaten by velociraptors. But in the movie, he's very much not dead.
Dog, they character assassinate him so hard.
They really do. He goes from a very like well-intentioned, just kind of pretty standard guy to being like the secret like espionage guy who's just trying to like sell stuff to the military guys.
Just the gall to have at the end of the third Jurassic World movie, him to be like, I didn't realize my megalocust were gonna be used for an ecologic blight. Please forgive me. As how dumb do you think I am?
Justice for Henry Wu.
Speaking of characters that they assassinated in the movie, in the books, the lawyer Gennaro is actually like one of like the main like good guys. He does like a lot of good stuff, and he like goes out and helps and saves people.
Mhm.
And everyone knows in the movie that he famously, gets eaten by the T-Rex while on the toilet.
It was not a dignified death.
They really played up into like, oh, like, everyone hates lawyers kind of trope. But in the book, he was one of the good guys. He went out and helped people even though he didn't have to,
Mhm.
when he could have been safe.
It's been a minute since I read it, but doesn't he also survive at the end too?
Yeah,
Or
he
no?
survives through the end, and he
Yeah.
like goes and
Like-
like turns on the power, and
Yeah.
like
Him and Molden both make it out, unlike the movie.
yeah, they're two who kind of like help get everything back together at the park while everyone else is trying to survive.
Yeah, it is one of those things where it's a funny scene. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's meant to be too funny. It is also kind of horrific, but
is.
It is
little
one of
funny
the
though,
more
too.
like direct executions in like the first Jurassic Park movie, at least. Like
Oh,
you see
Yeah,
pretty much all of it. So
yeah, if he's just hiding in there, why did he take his pants off?
I mean,
that's
maybe
a
he had to
good
go.
question.
He was committed to the bit.
He was hiding. Yeah, I guess he was like, he's surely less likely to bother me now.
It'd be
But
improper
like
even.
just him being afraid in the bathroom, I don't know, the empathetic fear, it's a chilling moment, and then you see him get ragdolled about as if the T-Rex was a bulldog with a chew toy.
Yeah, it's not a great end for him.
No, not a good way
No.
to go. In terms of fiction stories, and I'm gonna be cheating here a bit, it's comic books. Does that count for books?
Yeah, I mean, books in the name.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is. Devil
It seems to be
Dinosaur.
there.
He's a Marvel superhero, and his powers is he's a dinosaur.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Like, what type of dinosaur?
he's just a big red one.
Like a theropod?
Yeah, sometimes he's his own species, sometimes he's just a red T-Rex. It really depends on who's writing him. At the beginning, he was partnered with a very monkey-like caveman named Moon Boy, and then later they're like, we can't keep doing this. So they partner him with a very tech-savvy little girl named Moon Girl. It's quite the jump in partnership. Both have Moon in the name, not at all similar. I will say I do prefer Devil Dinosaur with Moon Girl. There's a lot more to work off of. His powers really are he a dinosaur, but he's smart, but not too smart.
That does sound like a good set of powers to have.
It's fun.
Who's
It's
his, like,
basically
nemesis?
you're watching this girl try to solve crimes with her very well-trained dog, but also he's got an attitude problem sometimes. And also that dog is a T-Rex. Look, my favorite color is red. I love dinosaurs. Devil Dinosaur's a red dinosaur. I'm easy to please.
That's fair. In a similar but different vein, there's actually a thing that I'm probably gonna be reading semi soon, hopefully. It's actually a like dinosaur themed like manga. Imagine like if Jurassic Park just kind of was a regular zoo and it functioned normally and it was probably more like a slice of life. It's called Dinosaur Sanctuary. It's just about a zookeeper at a dinosaur zoo.
I've
Pretty
heard
fun.
I've heard good things about that one.
That'll be fun to check out.
I can point out the inaccuracies of Devil Dinosaur, such as how his wrists are, why he have extra finger. However, this goes back to our discussion with movies. I'm so willing to excuse inaccuracies if it's fun, if it's good. Even in the Mammoth Book of Dinosaurs, I mentioned that Nothosaurus story, that point of view from the Nothosaurus's perspective. Okay, I don't know how smart a Nothosaurus is. This is written like a human. However, it's a very compelling story. It's about surviving a storm. And as somebody who's been caught out in the field during a rainstorm, I get it.
Yeah, so I have kind of a historical fiction book. This one also written by Michael Crichton. He had written part of it, and then he had like notes on the rest of it. But then he died, so it was finished after his death. But it's called Dragon Teeth. Have you guys ever heard of it?
You've told me about it.
It's a
think I
historical
have.
fiction. The premise is that it's taking place during the Bone Wars. Anyone listening who doesn't know what the Bone Wars is, it's a period of time in the 1800s where there was two paleontologists who really hated each other, and
Oh,
they
so
both
much.
wanted to prove each other that they were like the superior paleontologist by finding the most new species. It takes place during the Bone Wars, and it's a historical fiction. And there's this guy who's a college student, and basically he has to go out for the summer for credit, for money, or whatever. whatever. I don't remember the exact reason. He goes out for the summer to go work with one of them to dig up dinosaurs and all kinds of, they're out working in the field and they have to deal with, doing field work in the 1800s in the West where it's not settled and everything. Two guys are also, getting in fights and trying to disrupt each other's camp. It's kind of a mix of like a Western and a paleontology book. It's pretty interesting.
As stated in the movie episode, go back to that if you haven't listened to it. I'm a sucker for cowboys and dinosaurs.
Yeah, you definitely have to check that one out. It's also pretty entertaining. Like you can definitely read it in like one sitting. It doesn't really have any like dry spots.
I mean, that's always good. I
Bryce,
don't
you
know,
have any favorite like fiction books about dinosaurs?
Honestly, you kind of already listed mine. Like, I haven't read a whole lot of fiction dinosaur books from like my older years, but my favorite is probably going to be like Jurassic Park 1 and 2.
I have kind of one other fiction dinosaur book I want to mention. This one my brother got for me for as a Christmas gift a couple years ago. So shout outs to him. One of my really good gifts. But it's called The Dechronization of Sam Magruder. It was actually written by a paleontologist, George Gaylord Simpson. You guys may have heard of him.
Yeah.
Pretty famous paleontologist, evolutionary biologist. But he wrote this book and never published it in his lifetime. And it was kind of published after his death by his daughter. But the book was kind of basically a guy gets sent back in time and he knows there's like no way to return. And he's kind of living his life in the times of the dinosaurs. And it's kind of a reflection of a paleontologist and like what a career in paleontology is like and what would it be like to be in the past. It's pretty interesting. What are the implications?
I'd get eaten.
It's super interesting. It's more like philosophical at the same time, Andy?
Yeah.
And Bryce, something that you might like, it actually takes place in the Kirtland Formation.
That's fun. They got any fun little hadrosaurs from there and there?
There are some hadrosaurs in there. The book was actually kind of inspired by, if you guys have ever read the Time Machine.
Oh, yeah.
It's written in that kind of same format.
Okay.
It's a really good book. I would say, honestly, it's just one of my favorite books in general, like period.
Now, this one's not really just a sit down and read type book. As the DM for the museum, 3 different people have lent me their copy of Dr. Drilman's Dictionary of Dinosaurs, which is a rule book that helps add on to the game of Dungeons and Dragons with all sorts of dinosaur-based rules. And it was so funny. At no point have I asked 3 separate people, one of them being Bret, but it did land on my desk.
Yeah, no, it's a fun book.
It is. The illustration is good. The lore implications are good. I get why it happened. I truly do. Especially since the first campaign I ran for the museum was a dinosaur themed one. It was funny that it happened 3 separate times on people's different initiative.
It's a good book if you guys like dinosaurs and you play D&D. It's got kind of rules for different dinosaurs. It's written by actual paleontologists as well.
We've mentioned there's some severe overlap between paleontologists and Dungeons and Dragons players and other such nerdy things.
The Allosaurus in the book is actually based off of the Ballad of Big Al, which is very fun.
I remember the campaign I ran my first year here at the museum. I wanted to make sure I was making friends and everyone was getting along. I ran a campaign set in the jungle island of Chult. Or it's a peninsula, not an island, sorry. But it's a place that still has dinosaurs in the world. This isn't me making stuff up. That's Dungeons and Dragons lore. It doesn't change much. I just want people to know. And at one point, Bret plays a druid, somebody in tune with nature. And they got ambushed at night by an Allosaurus. So what he does is he casts a spell that makes it his friend for 24 hours, and then he sells it and leaves. You remember that one, Bret?
I do now, yeah.
You went to the discount dinosaur livery and just pawned him off for 100 gold because you were like, I don't want to deal with the angry Allosaurus when the spell wears off.
So I made it somebody else's problem.
Yeah, that one was good. Besides fiction and Dungeons and Dragons books, and while the kids' books we alluded to are all great, they helped us get into this, there's also more adult-centric nonfiction books that are very much worth a read. I kind of hinted at it. Dinosaur Heresies by Bob Bacher. This is where Bob Bacher tried to make it known to the public that dinosaurs probably had feathers. We now have a much better understanding of that, to what extent, who had it, etc., but when Bacher was writing this, it was a heresy to say that.
Yeah, he also in that book, he was one of pretty much the first people to propose that dinosaurs were warm-blooded rather than cold-blooded.
It's a great read to understand just how science evolves.
100%.
It's one of those things of, you can look back in hindsight, but we only have that hindsight because of people like him doing that. Another really good one, kind of covering history of dinosaurs, but also history of paleontology. The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs by Steve Brusatte. That one's a good read. I like that he's got a very easy to read anecdotal style.
If you like his books, he also has The Rise and Reign of Mammals, which is kind of a sequel to that.
I need to give that one a read. Time just hasn't been on my side.
It's quite good as well.
I imagined so. Purely is just time unfortunate, you know.
Yeah.
While I still love books, I have just had to switch to a lot more of audiobooks. You know, plug in my headphones while we're doing fossil prep and let that go. Which,
That makes
nothing wrong
sense.
with that.
Yeah,
It's just not everything's an audiobook.
Bryce, do you have any
unfortunately.
favorite paleo authors or paleo books?
I'm not sure if my answer really counts because unfortunately, because like time and just like acquiring things, I truth be told haven't read a whole lot of like nonfiction dinosaur books in my adulthood, aside from like papers and whatnot. One of the longer ones that I always go back to, it's a very good resource and it's free. So if you want to read something that's, well, to be fair, a little bit less digestible than most publicly produced books, but very in depth, you can't go wrong with Prito Marquez's 2008 dissertation, The Phylogeny and Historical Biogeography of Hadrosaur Dinosaurs. In this, it's redefinition and reconglomeration of all the different physical traits, a part of the different bones of hadrosaurs that help to like inform about what they are, how they're different, and stuff like that. With a lot of picture references and descriptions, 934 pages long, so it's a lot of material to go through if you really want to. There are some more updated versions of this come out since, but this is a great place to start if you're just trying to get into hadrosaur morphology or the shapes of the bones.
That's pretty common interest as well. So a lot of people probably
think
take you up on
so.
that.
Dude, anytime I'm
Yeah.
going down the street, people are wailing asking where they could learn more about hadrosaur bone morphology.
I know, right? Like, it's absolutely wild just how many of them there are, and yet how unfortunately uninformed they are about the existence of the dissertation.
I can also talk about hard to read books in my field of study. If you want to learn about taphonomy, look up anything by K.A. Berensmeyer. She's very good.
Anyway, while we were in Canada at the Royal Trail Museum, we were back there looking at different hadrosaur bones, and we were looking in a cabinet, and in the cabinet was some unlabeled pieces, and there was a note next to one of them from Frida Marquez saying, like, I think this is, I forget what it was.
Yeah, because they had like marked it as like some sort of like thing like indeterminate, and he was like, I agree.
Indeterminate hadrosaur. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, I
wasn't it
agree,
like
Frida Marquez.
indeterminate lambeosaurian, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah. But it was just funny. He just had a little note there putting, I agree. It was like from like 7 years ago.
That was very funny.
When I was doing my senior thesis and working with the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's collection, there was a box labeled fish bits. In it were a bunch of fish fossils that were unidentifiable past fish. And there was a note from a fish expert. Somebody had tried to identify it to a species level, and then said fish expert said, like, don't bother.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I do love the communication of scientists via post-it notes in collections. Bryce was kind of holding off saying that his favorite nonfiction book was also the Devil Dinosaur comics.
Yeah. But I didn't want to like, copy people twice in the same episode, so.
No, I get it. Don't worry, bud.
Yeah. Oftentimes people ask me what are good paleo books to get into for like the average person.
And you're always
that
saying
could-
Devil Dinosaur.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I tend to recommend actually books written by Stephen Jay Gould. He's a
Oh,
really good
yeah.
author.
Gould
he
was
does
actually in a Simpsons episode.
yeah, he was in a lot of stuff.
That's how you know he made it.
He writes about a lot of stuff. Oftentimes people will ask like, oh, what's a good interesting paleo book to start with? And I always recommend Wonderful Life. Not about dinosaurs, it's about the Burgess Shale and kind of like the origins of life. It's a very good book.
Gould and some others, like we mentioned, Brusatte, they make reading their work accessible, intentional or not. It's not always the case.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a feat of writing.
One other author I want to recommend is Donald Prothero. He also writes, I think, pretty well when it comes to fossils. He does dinosaurs, but he also does mammals.
He does a lot of textbooks too.
Yeah, he does. But he also writes books that are easy to read.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying textbooks are in his wheelhouse.
He's also a nice guy. I met him once.
I met him once too. He shook my hand and gave me an advertisement for his next textbook that came out.
He signed
Well, did you
my
end up getting
copy.
that textbook?
Huh? I didn't hear you.
Did you end up getting that textbook? Bryce asked.
No, I'm broke.
One other book that I want to mention, I actually read it this year, it was pretty interesting, is Becoming Dinosaurs. It's by Dave Trexler. It's about paleoclimatology and like history, basically comparing like environmental climate change from the past to today and like what things should be done. It's pretty important these days
Mhm.
with climate change. I mean,
No,
it's
yeah.
kind of interesting to have a paleontologist's like perspective on it because it really helps you visualize how radical the climate change is today versus in the past. I mean,
Mhm.
even if we look to the past to like the biggest rates of climate change ever, what we see today is more than 10 times the
Now-
past. So
Brett, Dave
Yeah.
Trexler sounds like a familiar name. Why is that?
Dave Trexler, you might have heard of him. He is famous because he actually founded the world's best museum, the Montana Dinosaur Center.
He's also our neighbor.
He is our neighbor.
That's
Also a
true.
very nice guy.
He's famous for being our neighbor. Now, Dave Trexler has done a lot of work in paleontology, specifically regarding Maiasaura and the two medicine formation as a whole, and he is the founder of our museum. You've heard us mention the museum's founder. It's that guy. He is currently retired, enjoying his retirement, but always good to see him, always good to talk.
And at some point, he'll be a guest on this podcast.
Yes. Well, I hope you guys got a good sense of what are some good page turners. What are some good pieces of paleontological literature? I've been Andy,
I'm Bret.
I'm Bryce.
and we hope you guys have a wonderful day.
That's one conversation down, and there's millions more waiting for us out in the ancient dirt. If you want to join the crew on their next auditory adventure, subscribe to the Fourth Favorite Hat, the Montana Dinosaur Center podcast, available wherever podcasts are distributed. You can follow the museum on social media at TM Dinosaur Center, visit tmdinosaurcenter.org, or swing by the museum in Bynum, about 80 minutes north of Great Falls on Highway 89. Thanks for listening.